Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to Laurentian Valley Council meeting of June the 4th. Dean, call to order, please.
A mover and seconder, please.
Wendy and Brian.
Moved by Councillor Hewitt, second by Councillor Ugly, that the council and committee meeting of June 4th, 2024 be called to order at 5:30.
All in favor? Carried. Dean, roll call, please.
Mayor Bennett.
Present.
Reeve Watt.
Present.
Councillor Gauthier.
Present.
Councillor Hewitt.
Present.
Councillor Ugly.
Present.
Councillor King. Councillor Wren.
Present.
All members present except for Councillor King.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda. Jennifer and Alan.
Moved by Councillor Gauthier, second by Councillor Wren, that the agenda of council and committee meeting of June 4th, 2024 be approved as presented.
All in favor? Carried. To close your pecuniary interest. Seeing none. Delegations. Welcome, Peter. You guys are set to go.
Yeah, I'm ready. Okay, so the first item of my report, it's not up there, was our audit letter. It was, we had a good experience with the new, with your new treasurer. I mean, Sean was here last year, but most of the audit process last year was with the former treasurer. Sean has kind of, I'm not being critical of the former treasurer, but he has created an electronic file system that is helps us with our job. We can do less of our work here and more of our work at our office, so that's one thing I would say. That was an improvement in the process. Okay.
Over there.
Okay, so the goal here tonight is to get through I'll go briefly through the financial statements. Hopefully we'll get approval. I'll spend a bit of time on the change in accounting policies that were instituted by the accounting profession that relate to you guys. I'll get to that. I'll go through the numbers a bit, and then we'll get to that when I get to note 2. I believe it's in note 2. So here's the balance sheet. This is the assets and your liabilities. You have to remember, in here are what are here, and then a portion of what's at the Waste Management Board and a portion of what's at the airport. So when we look at cash, for example, 3.6 million of that 4.8 million is here. Another 1.1 is at the Waste Management Board, and another 90K is at the airport. So everywhere throughout here, except taxes receivable is 100% yours. Inventories for resale are at the airport, if you're wondering. Investments, they're out at Waste Management Board, mainly a little bit at the airport. Taxes receivable are all here. Okay, accounts receivable are mostly here. Accounts payable are mostly here. Deferred revenue is mostly here. And deferred revenue obligatory is all here. Asset retirement obligation is at the Waste Management Board. And long-term debt, when we get there, I'll tell you, most of that's here, but some of it's at the Waste Management Board. So, I'll keep going. Okay, now one thing I want to highlight here is there will be a change in the final. So in the budgeted number, these don't affect actuals, it's just in the budget column. User and frontage charges, that number 44,15773 should be 3732887. We just had a grouping problem, and the line below should be 2363735. So one is $600,000 too much, the other one's $600,000. It was for the funding of Roy Street, which there was a grant of $600,000. In error got grouped with user and frontage charges. So just wanted to highlight that. So the revenues are pretty well bang on. Down in expenses, again, I have to reiterate that, but you guys do not, in the actual numbers is amortization of your capital assets. In the budget, there is no amortization. So it's hard, when you look at it comparatively here, especially when you get into transportation, you think you're way over budget, but you are over. That's the one line you are over budget on. But everywhere else where it shows you're over budget, you aren't. So in general government, the actual expenses, not including amortization, are about 1.5. Protection to persons, about 2 million. Transportation, just under 3 million. Environmental services, just under 3 million. Recreation, 800,000. And planning and development, there is no amortization there. So you were under budget everywhere but transportation. And essentially in transportation, you were pretty well over little bits everywhere. So there's really nothing there to highlight. Okay, scroll down here. I can tell you about a few of your capital additions. Okay, so in land, $53,000 for land. That was purchased, that's CN Rail line. $259,000 was Elgin Street Park. $260,000 was Allison Fraser Garage. The $120,000 in equipment's various. The 1.1 million of vehicles was a tanker, a fire tanker, 423,000. Freightliner, which I'll talk about a bit later, 323,000. And then the Waste Management Board was another 360, so that's the 11 million. In the 1547, I can go over some of the big ones. B-Line was 670K. Irene, 148K. Pleasant View, 103. Loxley, 309, and then a bunch of other ones added up to another 300,000. So those were your capital asset additions in the year. If you go to Schedule 2, those where I was referring to the actual numbers not including amortization there, you can see them there. If you want to compare those to the financial statement, there's the 1.5, the 2, the 3, the 3, the 8, and the 5. That will help you compare how you're doing against your budget, okay? And the nice thing about this schedule, as I always say, it shows in here, if you look at environmental services, it's the one area that doesn't use taxation. As you can see, it uses user fees, it's self-funding, it actually has net revenue of 340,000. So everywhere else, you have to use taxation to help fund those programs. Okay. Okay, so go to note 2, and I'll try my best at this. Okay, so there are 2 changes in PSAP from last year. The first one's financial instruments. Now these relate to your investments that are held at the airport and at the Waste Management Board. Now, the big thing is the Waste Management, the airport, I don't really know the makeup of the airport, but it's not really material in the big scheme of things. The airport, the Waste Management Board investments, the airport's a very small number so I didn't go and look for it because it's actually the Ottawa Valley Waste Management Board that affects that line. And because it's invested in AMO's investment vehicle, for the most part, they have a little bit still left at an investment advisor, but for the most part it's at AMO. You and I can't invest in AMO. And that's considered, because we can't invest in it, it's not an active market. So what it turns out is, because it's not in an active market, it follows the old policy, like nothing has changed from how we've been doing things. So that is the one thing about that line. Financial instruments is that it really, if you were in the market, like it used to be a few years back, we would have to record the asset at fair market value. But because it's in a market that most of us can't access, which would be inactive, it's recorded at cost. So no change if it changes back to the way we used to be out there, or you used to be out there, where it went everything at one investment advisor, it would have to be valued every year at the fair market value. So the asset retirement obligation issue is, doesn't just affect the landfill, but we don't know of any other right now of of places it would affect, but at the school boards, it affected all the asbestos in all the schools, so it was quite a project there. But here, the asset retirement obligation, we used to do what was called post-closure care liability for the landfill site. That policy changed to an asset retirement obligation, and it really didn't affect the bottom line much at all. Because essentially it's the same calculation, it's just presented in a different way. So in the old way we used to do it, as the landfill site's being used, the liability would grow. So if we use 20% of the, if we used 20% of the landfill, we'd record 20% of liability. As we use another 5%, it would grow by 5%. It would grow until the end when it would be at its full liability. What we're now doing is we're recognizing the full liability up front, but we're recognizing an asset at the same time equal to the liability. And that asset, the liability is going to change over time because of inflation and discount rates and everything else. But the asset is now being amortized, just like all your other assets. So it's being brought down to zero. So instead of, it kind of made everything bigger, rather than just move the liability up over time, we're bringing the asset down over time, where the liability will always be there. So the net effect didn't really, you can see it didn't really change the financial statements at all. Like the accumulated surplus changed by $353,000 to the better, by the way. But some of that could have been timing of inflation rates and discount rates, because the discount rate is one of the things that come in, and we can go into that a bit further. When the interest rate, what it costs you guys in capital, and we get that from, you just recently had a debenture issued, which I will talk about a bit later. It was at 4.54%, I believe. 4.54, and the inflation rate right now being presented to us from the engineers is 3.9. When the discount rate is actually higher than the inflation rate, your liability goes down. It's when it flips the other way, if the discount rate goes below inflation. Because essentially what you can do is if you're making more money on your money, you can be ahead if you had invested it, put it away, you build up a bigger pool of money if you're ahead of inflation. That's where this liability is going to fluctuate now. It used to fluctuate a bit. You know, we used to be at the landfill site, and then they'd have when there was the flood, and all of a sudden the usage of the landfill site went up with waste, and that would affect the old liability, because it would say we've used up more of the landfill than we traditionally have, and then that would increase because we're using that percentage of the liability. It would write it off. The only way it's going to change the asset side is if it actually, for example, right now I believe it's 2038, we're being told that the landfill should close. If they use it so much that it says, oh, that's now 2036, the amortization period's wrong on this asset being written off, because it's being written off over the life expected of the assets. So right now we're believing it's going to close in 2038. If that number changes, then we're going to have to reevaluate things on the asset side of how much we write off the asset. But right now the asset's being written off straight line, so it does have, that's the little bit of a difference, whereas we were a little bit more precise on the liability before because we were using usage rates. So, does anybody have any questions regarding that guy? Okay.
Peter, the surplus on the back few pages of 900 and some thousand. So 300 of that was one project, you said? Because obviously Sean didn't give us 900,000 back, so that money went somewhere.
Where's that?
The accumulated surplus he spoke to. He said it went up.
Back
the
one.
right way,
Oh, okay.
I think.
Oh, you mean on the asset retirement?
No. Go back to the revenue and back to one of the first pages there, where you,
There? Yeah, excess of revenue over expenses?
yeah, actual, 936, 688.
Yeah, okay. So that's the thing. So what you would have done with that, you would have invested in capital assets,
Right.
you would have paid off debt, and you would have built your reserves with that. So when you think of, that number gets taken down to zero for various reasons, because remember, the assets are amortized now. So the actual purchase of the asset is taken out of that number, but then charged up above. So when we go 936, you spent 3.3 million in assets. So yeah, he didn't give it back to you, but you know, you also paid off debt.
But we spent the 936 after year end. That's why it shows that way?
No, it's just that we're going from PSAB, which you're thinking of, so when you raise money in taxes, right? Let's just use debt for an example. Sean presents a budget, you have to pay 100,000 on the principal of debt to pay on your principal. If there was nothing else going on, okay, keep all the assets out, you would have to have a surplus of 100,000 so you could pay the debt. So that's what I see. You would see that as 100, and then you'd use that 100 to pay the debt. But it would present it as 100 because you're $100,000 better off. You have less of a liability. So you wouldn't want me to go through the weeds from the 936 down to zero. But essentially, it's one of the number of items just like that. Okay, so I don't.
No,
I mean, and you did. I do believe we'll get to the reserves. You did increase your reserves, and your debt went down. So we can get it. You can see that a bit more in the notes.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, that's a combination of, remember, part of that's at the Waste Management Board, and part of it's at the airport.
Right.
Okay.
Can I add something there, Peter?
Yeah.
And I think, Mr. Mayor, just to just add some perspective, that 936, we're looking at the operations there. Capital, like I think Peter's explaining, comes out after that. So that's yeah, because we're taxing for capital, like we're using property taxation revenue, which is showing in that there, but we're not showing the capital expenditure as I would show you when we create the budget or bring reports to you. It's just a way for the accounting purposes that the financial statements get shown.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Note 3. So I'll just go to note 3 here for a bit because I kind of dismissed what's at the airport, but that's why I didn't worry about what the investments are at the airport. In this big scheme of things, as I said, the investments at the Waste Management Board are 800,000 and they're 41. Your share of the investments at the airport are 41. So essentially the airport here, it's not immaterial for the airport because remember that's at 19% of the airport's number. The numbers for the airport, that number, that's a very important number for the airport. I don't think but it's not, when you bring it into your books, it's 19% of that is yours, or 18%. Taxes receivable, there wasn't any, I mean, there's 3 properties, I believe there's 3 that we've been allowing for, and one of them may have sold, so I don't know if that's gonna be, I don't think it could be any worse, but it might be a bit better. Your receivables might be a bit better than what's being presented there now, subsequent to the year end. Deferred revenue, this is money you haven't spent yet of government, mostly capital money. Some of it's development charges, that's what you get from your property owners when they build a new house and you have to spend it in a certain way. Gas tax, you gotta spend it on your roads, and same with community infrastructure fund. I'm sure with the way Roy Street's going, most of that, there'll probably be some of that at least considered being spent in there anyways. So landfill, as I said, now it's hard to show, but really 2020, so what happened, we had to go back to 2021 when we did our change in policy and so the nice thing is we used all the same percentages, 3.9 and 4.54. Really that liability, the way it's set up, should really be increasing by 4.54% a year, which is the discount rate, assuming everything, but assuming inflation stayed the same, and it did. The problem is it went up less than 4.54% because your share of the Waste Management Board went down for that period of time, so between the 2 years. So that's the change. So every year we're gonna go through this process of, you know, when's the landfill gonna close? Has there been any significant changes to the estimates? What is the inflation rate? What is the discount rate? I'm gonna come. It shouldn't really affect, as I said, it won't affect the asset side that we've set up this paper asset really. That's going to be written off to 2038. The only thing is if they say the closure is affected, either extended out or, and I don't know if the Waste Management Board is planning an extension. We had a funny one in one of my municipalities where it can flip the other way as well, where, you know, it takes so long to get an extension, and we lived it through the Waste Management Board, that the liability, it may turn out if you ask for an extension at some point in time, the closure costs are now pushed. In my case, I got one that's closing 2088 now, the expected closing date, so that flipped, because last year it was beyond closing date, so. Note 7, I'll just go through which debt is yours and which is somewhere else. The 46 is at the airport. 113 is the office expansion. A number of years ago, looks like that's got 2 or 3 years left. 2.6 is the public works garage. 108 is the sewage, your share of the sewage treatment plant expansion in Pembroke. 630 is Golf Course Road. 49,000 is your share of the Waste Management Board. And general taxation, sorry, that's Joe Street. That's a bit of mix of 30% is the water systems paying it and 70%. So back to your original question, about 400,000 of your surplus is right there. Your debt went from 4.5 million down to 5 million. So there's 400,000 of your surplus that you're wondering why Sean didn't give you the money. Okay. Let me just see here. So now let me just talk about your couple of things in your surplus. So the 521,000, that's a combination of two numbers. Going from memory, about 200,000 of that is Roy Street, which is a significant project. I ran into it yesterday when I was coming back from Stonecliff, and when I saw the estimates there, it's a big number. So you're 200,000 into that by the end of 2023. The other 300 and so thousand, that's that piece of equipment we talked about earlier. It's been financed. So one of the things about that, I'll go back. You guys went out for debenture in February of 2024, and the debenture rate that you were provided fed into this note to show how current. So that is one of the things. We're going to get that discount rate. We're going to go through. We're going to survey our municipalities, see what the current rate is, closest guy, and you will have, like, when Roy Street goes out, if that's this year, I don't. It didn't seem like that was a problem. Whenever you debenture that, that will change that number depending on what rate the market's going to charge you. As I said, that's where we're getting that rate from. The inflation rate was provided by the engineers who use the consumer construction price index. There's some index they use to provide us that number. Okay, so that's where that 521 is. So a big chunk, as I said, 330 of it has been financed, or 323,000 of it has been financed in February. The other Roy Street amount, we'll probably be talking about it next year at this time. And there's the offset for the asset retirement. There's your reserves, yeah. And so your reserves actually went down 500,000. but your assets went up. So when we got into this, the debt went down, but that was part of your surplus. Your reserves went down, that's actually a deficit, but your equity and tangible capital assets went up by 1.4. So that's really where that 900,000 is in the balancing there of the, those items. Expenses by object, nothing really there, pretty well on. And that's where we get to this, you don't, amortization of tangible capital assets are not budgeted. The actual purchase of the capital asset is, so this helps with your analysis of, well, did we really go over budget? Well, no. Well, I would say most of those numbers where they did go over budget were in transportation. The accretion of asset retirement obligation, that's the growth in the liability due to the discount, that's 60,000. And that's that. Operation school boards, that's money you collect on behalf of the school board and the county. Here's your contracts with the city. Garbage collection, that's with whoever it is now. Policing. And there's your joint local boards. So to get an idea where, if we were to look at the Waste Management Board, they have net financial assets of 837, your share is 158. They have 5 million in surplus, yours is 973, that's more or less, and then the airport's the next one. Sorry, the first one was the airport, sorry. And here's the Waste Management Board. Now, one of the things is with the Waste Management Board, there are transactions that have to be eliminated because you don't pay yourself, right? So the Waste Management Board will pay, for example, a royalty. We eliminate the 22% that's really your money that's paying you. You can't pay yourself. So those are the type of things that go on that we eliminate when we consolidate. And then and that's about it, I think. Although the Omers, some reason, had a deficit last year when the market went up. I don't know. We had a conversation about that, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyways, and this comparative figures is just because of we had to change comparatives due to PSAP, or the accounting changes. Any questions regarding the financial
It's
statement?
a lot to take in at one time. No, I guess not, Peter.
Okay, really the not much to talk about. I mean, I'll open if there's any questions regarding the water, but the water is pretty, obviously there was an expectation of a huge capital expenditure. We won't know, so just so you understand how these things work, probably of that 200,000, that when we talked about the unfinanced Roy Street, probably some of that related to the water system. We don't know. So what happens is, for now, all that money that's being spent on Roy Street is allocated out of your general government money. When the project's done, then we find out what the total is. Then it gets allocated to wastewater, water, general government. So we won't know that till the end, till the final number, and then the water system will have to pay for some of that. The wastewater system will have to pay for some of that, and I think that's probably it. I don't know, they're not doing storm sewer, are they? That wouldn't be part of the whole thing.
Oh, I think it is.
Yeah, that would be wastewater. Anyways, that's what I would say there. This guy, actually, you guys did transfer, the other surpluses were in the 2030 area, but this one had a $67,000 surplus, so that's good, but part of that is, and it's a little easier to see it. In fact, when you go, it's a little bit simpler to explain things here. The surplus here is 2,400, but you have to take out the amortization expense because you've already paid for that. Those are assets you've already paid for. So then you're at 88,000 surplus, but then, you move some money to reserves. On a simple basis, and you paid some debt. So it's a little bit, if, we could probably show you how to reconcile from a PSAB financial surplus to the surplus that you concern yourselves with. Probably easier with the, well, it would be easier with the waterworks because there's no,
Outside.
it's not a lot, it's not as complicated, and there's no proportionate consolidation as well, so it's just on its own.
Okay.
Okay?
We're doing a motion now. Brian?
My question is, you're saying most of the surpluses, we were over mostly in transportation, and yet we had a year of very little snow plow, which is the variable part of it, so why were we over on just about every area in transportation?
I don't know, I can't explain it.
But Brian, don't forget that January, February, March is 24, right? But it's hard to bring that question, get an answer for that out of these statements right now.
Yes. Yeah, I can't give you the answer to that, but it was general, but what I can say to you is the timing of sand and salt purchases can can significantly affect the accounting of your surplus. Because that's the problem. So when you think of your business cycle's December 31st, most businesses will have their year end at their slow time of business, right? But for transportation services, one of their most significant expenses is winter control. You're right in the middle of it. So part of the problem is you're buying sand and salt. One would presume maybe the sand and salt, and you're talking about a winter that went down. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but you may have stored sand and salt that's going to help with the following winter. In anticipation, because you didn't spend it, you didn't use it, you spent it in anticipation of January, February, March. That's the problem. So it's not an ideal thing to use calendar year basis to evaluate the transportation, the roads, for that reason. Like, it's in the meat of, and it's anticipating things that they don't know, right? We've had an issue with one year, this bunch of purchase was done like 2 days before December 31st. So that wasn't utilized, but it was expense for, I'm not saying that is one of the reasons why it's not as simple as, well, we didn't have a very busy winter, so why are we over? One of the things I'll tell you, those wages, if you don't, so the capital project didn't get going. So you do a lot of internal work. A lot of your staff do capital projects, but if you delay the capital project, you utilize them in other ways that weren't intended at the start of the year. So staff will go and do some of the capital work, but the project gets delayed. Well, you say, go do this and go do that. So it's a hard thing just from the numbers that I see to evaluate. That's really, that's a manager's role. And that's why it didn't surprise me too much. I think it goes over. That's my answer. Gotta remember, my materiality is totally different than your materiality. So. But I will say it was generally across the board high.
Okay, Mark?
Again, just to add, so some of the challenges we ran into in 2023 were some of our contracted services, some of our commodities. I know we had spoke earlier about granular A for our gravel resurfacing. We had a 75% increase last year alone, and that was well over $100,000 there just in one line item. So we had a couple of cross culverts that failed that weren't anticipated as part of our budget, so we had some additional expenses there to replace those. So it was a little bit all over the place, but in general it was asphalt went up considerably last year, gravel went up, and we've seen that sort of more stabilize, and some of the contracts are actually a little bit cheaper for 2024 than what they were in 23. So that's a couple of those items.
Thanks, Mark. Keith?
I was just going to say, I guess the entire purpose of the audit is to make sure that we're following all the practices that should be done with our year, or during our year in expenses and revenue. And I can appreciate that. As I go through and I read this prior to coming to the meeting, some of it sinks in as to what might have done it, what might not have, but your explanation as you go through, I applaud you in reciting so many of those things. I don't know how long it takes you to go through and do this audit, or the conversations you must have, but it must be lengthy, and I just want to say thanks for that.
Well, yeah, I don't really do that much of that part. But there's two steps to what really goes on. So you're right, the policies, procedures, we do testing on your procedures. That part, I have nothing, I review what's been done, but I don't have anything to do with it. So we test versus your controls. And then really one of the places where Sean, you know, he's now he's an accountant now. So he's like, it's part of the problem is we got to go from municipal, this issue about the surplus is the hardest challenge that we have, because we're presenting we're taking numbers that are cash based the way you want a budget, and now trying to bring it into the accrual. So that's kind of where I come in that process. That is where, you know, we can understand, I understand, I was doing it before, that's how long, I've been doing it when we used to do it with reserve fund, current fund, capital fund, and everybody seemed to understand that. And then they brought in the PSAB, and now to reconcile back to that, it's been a challenge at the Waste Management Board, it's a challenge here, it's a challenge everywhere we go. But it's even expanding, as you know, we're already on our second iteration of how to deal with landfill sites since they brought this in, and so that's where the challenge is, to be honest. The books are well maintained, so that part, the big part is how do we go from that to presenting this? Now, as slowly we go through it, and the real problem is Sean really can't do it. I'm not saying he's not capable, I guess but it can't be done with your system. And that's the other challenge, is because, you have to bring in 23% of the Waste Management Board, you have to bring in 23% or 18% of the airport, and who knows if you ever get into other joint local boards. That is really the challenge. That's beyond he's not part of that. They have an accountant out at Waste Management Board, and they got someone out at the airport, and then he doesn't have that information. So we all have to spend some time accumulating all that information after the fact and try to present it here, and then answer questions that kind of unconsolidated it down to where we're talking about what's going on here at Laurentian View at Laurentian Valley, with the old client. Anyways, and that's the thing. So certain lines aren't affected by the airport consolidation, for example. Transportation services is. So in transportation services, that's where your airport is. Certain lines aren't affected by Waste Management Board. All the generally most of the revenues are, but only the environmental service line in the expenses has the Waste Management Board in it. All the general government is you guys, protection to person's property is you guys, rec is all you, planning is all you. But it's when you get into the environmental services line, it's hard to unconsolidate that there's the Waste Management Board and the airport in those lines. The airport not to a lesser extent. The Waste Management Board is a bigger organization, and you're a bigger share of that organization.
Okay, we have a motion, Dean?
We do. Need a mover and a second, please.
Jennifer now?
Moved by Councillor Gauthier, second by Councillor Wren, that the Council of the Township of Laurentian Valley acknowledge and approve the 2023 financial statement as prepared and presented by Peter Harrington of Welsh LLP.
All in favor? Carried. Thanks,
Thanks,
Peter.
Thank you. That's.
So our second delegation tonight is Allison Fraser Rec Center. We have Elizabeth Graham. She's the president of the Allison Fraser Rec Committee. We also have sitting at the back, Merle Beam, who takes care of the property, and we have the treasurer, Debbie Lupitz. So she'll be speaking on their behalf, but if she needs consultation with them, they're more than willing to come up and answer some questions.
Welcome, Elizabeth.
Great, thank you. Okay, good evening, everyone. So I'm here to present some information on the Allison Fraser Recreation Center. So I wanted to start first by outlining our committee. So as Nevada mentioned, myself as chair, and I'm also acting secretary. Betty King is our council representative. Debbie is our treasurer. And then our committee members are Adele Ashik, Charmaine Micah, and Luke Murphy. We have an employee, our facility manager, Merle Beam, who's been a long-term employee at the rec center. We also contract a cleaner. We have a student who works in our canteen for the summer. And then, of course, much of our activities and special events are supported by a large group of volunteers, as well as the user groups that operate programs out of the facility. So my understanding is that the facility manager position is quite unique to the rec center in terms of other rec centers within the township don't typically have a paid staff member who has a contracted number of hours throughout the year. So I just wanted to outline what that role is, and this probably just highlights some of the duties that the facility manager undertakes. So they act as the hall convener for bookings, look after all the contracts, open and closing the hall when user groups are accessing it, looking after the bar, ice maintenance, so of course starting the ice at the beginning of the season and maintaining it throughout the winter. Grounds maintenance, mowing, looking after garbage and recycling, snow removal, ball diamond maintenance, minor building repairs and maintenance. If there's a larger project that has to be undertaken, they are getting quotes and coordinating the contractors. And they're also responsible for the horse arena maintenance and beach volleyball courts. So as you can see, we have a lot of activities that happen at the township that really requires this position to, oversee a lot of those activities. So I just wanted to highlight some of the facilities we have at the rec center. I know council's familiar with most of them. Our outdoor rink surface, so this is utilized by various user groups. We don't have a formal hockey program as like compared to Shady Nook, but there's certainly lots of user groups, pickup leagues. Pembroke Minor Hockey rents the ice for practices. Figure Skating Club rents it as well. You'll see the picture on the left there with the skating aids. Those were purchased through our fundraising for Fall Flavors Festival. We purchased those for the arena. And then the outdoor rink gets used when the ice is not in as well. So we have special events on the rink surface. That top image is Fall Flavors Festival. Last year we also had a large corporate event that booked the weekend after Fall Flavors and utilized the tents on the rink surface and had a band and everything. So I think it highlights the usage of that area for other activities. And then of course the pickleball courts that the Fit and Feisty group has put in, and it's well utilized. So we certainly appreciate the work on those activities as well. We have 3 ball diamonds. We had a unique situation this year. We barely had enough diamond time to accommodate all the leagues that wanted to play. There is Allison Fraser minor baseball for youth. Ladies softball has made a huge comeback. So we're glad to see that league back up and running. A mixed league also utilizes it, and a men's league as well. So on any given night when all 3 diamonds are in use and all the diamond times throughout the evening, there could be up to 200 players coming through the facility. So baseball, softball is alive and well in Laurentian Valley, so it's great to see. The horse arenas are also on the property. This is utilized by the Allison Fraser Horse Association as well as the Team Penning Club, so they host various activities and events throughout the summer. And our 2 beach volleyball courts as well. There's a couple rec leagues that book these regularly, and then of course there's pickup leagues where people just come over to play volleyball. And then, of course, our hall rental gets utilized for various activities, mostly smaller events, I would say, showers, anniversaries, birthday parties, some corporate staff training and business meetings like Family and Children's Services, Algonquin College, Algonquins of Greater Golden Lake. They regularly book the hall for staff training and meetings. We have regular Thursday night euchre, and then, of course, the Fit and Feisty operates a lot of their programs out of the rec center as well, their music jams and coffee connect. The committee oversees 3 annual events. So the committee is responsible, I would say, for coordinating these and facilitating these events. But as I mentioned, they're supported by a huge group of volunteers that assist us with that. So, of course, our Laurentian Valley Allison Winterland Carnival that's held every year in January. Our children's Christmas party that we hold in December, we just have a Sunday afternoon of kids' activities and pizza, and we ask for donations to the food bank, and we're always overwhelmed by the generosity of the community. And then, of course, Fall Flavors Festival, which has been held the last couple years in September. So just, I guess, some updates and activities that have happened at the facility. So our garage, thank you to council and township staff for the support in getting the garage finally built. This really helped us address a health and safety concern we had. So the snow removal equipment was always parked at the far end of the building. And to get to the ice, they'd have to travel through the entrance ways. So people were coming and going. If it was a busy event, lots of activities happening, it was a real safety concern for the users. So now the garage is adjacent to the ice surface, and that equipment can just access the ice a lot safer. It's also allowed for improved efficiencies or on-demand hot water, so we've filled the Zamboni a lot quicker and just allowed for some better ice maintenance throughout the season. Some of our newer equipment, so the Zamboni was purchased last year along with Four Seasons Trail. So again, that's just allowed for much more efficient ice preparation and maintenance, and it's also used at the trail. And this is a demo tractor that's been provided by Huckabone Equipment. Is that right, Mark? Yep. And with different attachments that are used at the trail and at the rec center as well. So again, a couple of pieces of equipment that really have improved, I would say, safety and efficiency of the operations. Flooring has been installed, so this was the most recent project. So again, thank you to council for their assistance in supporting a portion of this project. So again, this helped us address another safety issue. That image in the middle is the large change room downstairs. And the flooring that was in there was lifting. It was becoming a trip hazard. This floor, the old floor, was really hard to clean and maintain as well. So this new flooring has been installed in the entire lower level and all the change rooms as well. And it allows, obviously, people to walk on with their skates. So it looks a lot nicer and cleaner, and it'll be easier to maintain. So we were very grateful to have that project completed. One of the operational issues we've seen recently, and I just got an update from Mark, and I understand that some work has been done, but what you're looking at in the bottom image is adjacent to the horse arena, and this has just been a storage area for excess soil and materials from road construction and things. So I know the township staff's been working with contractors to get that cleaned up and get the parking lot graded and some of that soil removed. So the soil that's in the top image is just kind of behind the volleyball courts. And after talking to Mark tonight, that should be removed this year. So that just will allow for a lot more space in that back parking lot. And because on a typical weekend when there's lots of horse trailers there, and now they have lots of space to be able to park safely. So that was good to get an update on that. Upcoming projects, we have some accessibility updates to do with taps and door handles. We want to continue maintaining or painting the rink surface every 3 to 5 years. So the rink surface is painted white, and that helps, I guess, reflect some of the warmer sun's rays during the winter months to help elongate the season, the ice season. So we found that to be really beneficial, so we want to continue to do that. Some of our bleachers, probably need replacement. That's probably becoming a safety issue as well, so get those up to code and so they're safe for our users. Horseshoe pits, we're removing some of the unused community gardens at the bottom, and we're going to work with Fit and Feisty to install horseshoe pits at the property. And we're in the process of updating our constitution, updating the job description for the facility manager, and compiling some of our facility usage numbers. So I know the facility manager, has information on, the bookings and all that, but we want to develop a way to track that and present that information so the committee can view it as well as council. So we're going to work on that. And Chris calls it our hopes and dreams, but we'd like to see the LED lights on the ball diamond possibly replaced to get those hydro savings, and replacing some of the netting that's around the ball diamonds as well. So some of the things that we're thinking about. Council was provided a copy of our budget as well as our audited financial statement. So as you'll note, we have been operating in a deficit. The last year, the large expense was the Zamboni. We do have, money in the bank as per the audited financial statement, but as are all organizations and council, we're seeing, our costs increase quite significantly. So I know as a committee, we want to start looking at our rental rates. We've been getting some requests from some fairly large, I would say, corporate events. CNL hosted, as I mentioned, the event after Fall Flavors last year. And it's not, they come in and use the facility for 4 hours. It's over a couple days, set up, and just, it's a lot for our volunteers to manage. So we want to look at what those rental rates should be so that it's reflective of our costs and the requirement of the time of volunteers and the facility manager, but also keep us competitive that people will want to use the center. So I know the committee wants to look at that closely when we set the rates for next year. So any questions, comments?
Questions from council? Brian?
Yeah, council.
For these events that you do, you go out to get corporate sponsorship all the time?
Yes, yep, we do.
Do you send letters to the city of Pembroke?
I haven't.
Because they send them to us regularly, and
Interesting.
it would be nice maybe if some went the other way.
Okay, heard.
Good,
Okay.
thank you.
Elizabeth, great presentation tonight. Wow, it's.
Thank you.
You guys, as well as the other rec associations we have, do so much for our residents for a little cost for us, and without you guys, we wouldn't be able to offer it. So just seeing your presentation tonight, it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, well, thank you. And of course, we appreciate council's support, staff support. They do a lot for us as well. So, I mean, we couldn't undertake these events and activities without them either. So much appreciated.
Good. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
So next we have the Fit and Feisty Committee, and I believe Wanda Hiltz, president of the committee, will be speaking on behalf, as well as Bev Vaudry, who's the treasurer. And who else is coming up? Just the two of you? Oh, just the two of them. So let me just throw in presentation. That's this one. And how do I start this? That work? Yeah.
Just, I need lessons here. So what am I doing? To move it?
Yeah, so you just
Okay.
gotta-
Just go there. Okay.
Welcome, ladies,
We'll
to
go
council.
back.
Thanks for coming out tonight, and look forward to your presentation.
Well, first of all, I would like to thank Mayor Bennett, Reeve Watt, the council, all of the staff here at the township office, and Elizabeth and the people from the Alison Fraser Recreation Center as well. All of you have supported us so much on this venture that has just exploded on us, as you see. It's turned into way more than what we've ever thought it would be. We are now at, I asked Bev today, 492 members. So I said, maybe the 500 should get a free membership next year. We'll have to see. Anyway, so this is way more than we ever thought it would be. It's really good working with this group. Can we get this going here? Our motto is inspiring a zest for life, and it's really easy to do that with this group of people. They're very positive. They're retired. They don't have things to worry about as the work world. So it's really the positive attitude that makes it so easy to just keep this inspiring our zest for life.
This report is based on the first 4 months of operation from September to December 31st, 2023.
Okay. So, I believe council was given this package as
Yes.
well with
Yeah,
both of
we've had
these.
it.
So this was in our first 3 months of operation, 4 months of operation. So we were just kind of struggling along, not struggling, just finding our way along. So the next one is our expenses for 2024. So it goes from January 1st to December 31st. So as you can see on there, most of our expenses are coming through rentals. We don't have, I mean, we use the Alison Fraser Recreation Center, but we do use facilities that already have existing equipment, such as St. Timothy's Church. They have shuffleboard there, the courts there. So we use their facilities. Zion Church, Jean Lejoie. We try to utilize whatever facilities we can in the area. Also for other activities as well, we use restaurants and just so that we're not having to put that extra expense in. So that's where a lot of our expenses are coming from. When you look at the revenue for the same time period, you'll see that physical activities bring in quite a bit. We're divided into 3 sections: physical activities, Coffee Connect, and travel, culture, and entertainment. The pickleball brings in a fair amount of money. You'll see in the winter, we're bringing in $1,500. In the summer, we will bring that in as well. And our goal is, we will be donating that to the Alison Fraser Recreation Center for the use of their outdoor courts. So that's the fee. Every time someone comes to play, they pay $2. And we anticipate it'll be about $1,500. We also, whenever we're running any of these events, we pay for the rental, but we are only charging roughly half the cost. So we subsidize about half the actual cost of the events, just to keep all the events affordable for all of our members. So that's where a lot of our expenses are going in. We've now taken over the music jams as well. That was run independently, and now we've taken that over as well. Our Coffee Connect is growing. We'll talk about that a little bit more. We get a lot of food donated. Jen, I forgot your cookies. You had asked for cookies last time. But we do have a lot of food. A lot of people will bring in cookies or muffins or whatever, so that keeps our expenses down. Let's see in there. Our membership fees, so we are at 490. We anticipated 300. We don't know how many we're going to get. So we anticipated 300. So with both of these reports, in our revenue, we went low. In our expenses, we went high because we're just guessing as we go. But after hearing that last report from your first report, there's a lot of guessing going on anyway. So I feel okay about that. Oh. Sorry. Bear with me here. Okay, so.
Okay. We have over 80 volunteers that run our activities. Just last Saturday at the Classic Car Show, we had over 40 volunteers that day. As you can see in the bottom picture, we had lots of volunteers. We have also tracked our volunteer hours for 30 days, which comes up to 475 hours approximately. And this is not including Nevada and the township hours as well.
So that's you wanna? That's a lot of volunteer hours, and we didn't even get all of them, but that's just
An estimate.
an estimate of what we have. And our volunteers, people just come up to us and say, I'd like to run this, and they'll volunteer to do it. So it's not even hard to get volunteers at this point. So, like I said, we have 3 components, physical activities being our first one. Pickleball is huge. That's really what drives most of our physical activity. You can see some of these other events using the LV Trail for our snowshoeing. The picture on the right-hand side was down at Hughley's Blueberry Ranch, walking in their new trails there. Kayaking we're trying to get the kayaking and canoeing going. That's starting. But we hope that that will grow a little bit more. And we run exercise classes at Best Western, and that has been a really huge success. This Drums Alive class was so much fun. Travel, culture, and entertainment is another section. So in here, we went to Quebec City in the fall. We've now, like I said, taken over the music jams. We've done Oktoberfest. We just did a down memory lane with our funky girls in the bottom, which was a big success. We did cooking classes with James Wado, and our ATV runs have become very, very popular. Last time it was 69.
We had 67 people, and we had 37 machines. That was the run to Calabogie.
So we have 10 runs planned for the year, and so that's very popular. Our Coffee Connect as well is really growing. We started with about 30 or 40 showing up on Wednesday mornings for coffee, and we're running now between 70 and 80 people coming for coffee. So it's really become popular. We have some really great guest speakers as well. You can see Elizabeth, we have down in the corner. She was very informative. So we do everything from birding to what are they, electric vehicles, yeah, I can't even, I'm drawing a blank here. But we try to have Coffee Connect speakers that will appeal to a lot of people, that it's not just all quilting and those kinds of things. So we try to be very versatile with that. We also take it out in the road. You can see we're at Shaw Woods for the in that center picture. So we had a really a maple syrup demonstration there that was really well attended as well.
Giving back to the community. We support and give back to our community in various ways. Our newest venture will be Groove on the Grass at Pleasant View Park. And
So,
these are some of the,
okay.
okay,
No,
go ahead. As we have listed, these are some of the, we've given to Shaw Woods, the Grind, and to the LV Four Seasons Trail as well.
So our newest one is Groove on the Grass, and I was reminded that we need to make sure we put the word "the" in, not just Groove on Grass at Pleasant View Park. So it's very new to this area. It's dance and exercise at the same time. So everybody does their own personal dance, but the instructor will tell you you have to maybe do 3 push-ups in your dance, or you have to do 4 squats in your dance, or whatever. So you all do your own dance. This came out of California. It's huge out west, and it's only hitting Ontario. So we're kind of leading the way in this. So we're going to be running 8 sessions at Pleasant View Park, and it'll be open to all of the community, any age, at no charge. Some of the other things that we are looking at there as well is the painting of the pickleball lines at Stafford. We've made a commitment to do that with them. It hasn't happened yet, but we will. The Krista Johnson run is this week as well. We'll be participating in that on Sunday.
Community support. Our group has had an economic impact in our area with everything from ice cream, muffins to ATVs. KeyMac, for example, sold 6 ATVs, which gives them over $100,000 in sales from our ATV group that was generated.
So we do try to go out in the community and use local as much as we can. We've also purchased some 2 new bikes from Yantha Cycle, and they're stored there. So if anyone in our group wants to use them, they can go and use them. We also, with our pickleball, I want to mention that as well. With the pickleball, is at Allison Fraser, we have a storage bin there, and any Fit and Feisty member can go at any time and with their families, their friends or whatever, and use the equipment and the nets anytime they want. It is open. You have to have someone from Fit and Feisty there with you, but it is open to families to use this equipment as well.
Facilities and attractions, our main station is Allison Fraser. However, we use and rent many other facilities in the area, and this is only the beginning. And these are the...
Okay. So these are some of the places that we have events. So we do try to highlight some local venues as well. And like I said, this is only the beginning. So where do we go from here? Do we get you up here, Nevada? So actually, in this picture here, we do have Nevada and Chris, but we also had, you can make your announcements and then I'll speak too. Yeah.
Yeah, so at their last Coffee Connect, which was last Wednesday, we made a special announcement. So the Fit and Feisty Committee was successful in obtaining a grant through the New Horizons for Seniors programming of $24,250, I believe, and that will go to expand the Coffee Connect program. So they are going to develop the program to add more of a cultural aspect to it, and they have 12 gatherings planned. You can speak to the first 2, but it's going to be throughout the year. They have until March to complete all 4 gatherings, and it's going to be open not just to Fit and Feisty members, but any senior in the community that would like to come out and just get a feel for the group and socialize, meet new people. So I'm really proud of the group. I'd love to take a picture with the group and council. We have a few other members of the group here today as well. So if you want to come up now and we'll take a quick picture. So we have Simone Berger. We have Kathy Frederick. We have Cindy Schultz.
And Randy Kitchen.
And Randy Kitchen's here today. So perhaps we could take it in front of the Laurentian Valley sign.
You should be in this, Nevada. You have a huge role in this.
Because it is. Yeah, you can turn that off. So it is because of council, honestly, that this has all happened. So that's why we want to thank you, and they wanted to thank you as well. So I will let Wanda explain the first 2 programs that the grant will fund.
So the first event that we have is on Friday, June 21st. It's the National Indigenous Peoples Day, and in this, it's gone now. Anyway, in the slide there he is, Kerry Fortan. He is the one of the organizers of that event. So for this event, we're going to meet at 10:30. We're going to have coffee. We'll be listening to the opening ceremonies. And then we're going to have a squash soup, which is one of the 3 sister vegetables with the Indigenous people. So we're going to be offering free soup and coffee, and that's our first event, just to kind of get people down there and draw attention to what we're doing so we can hand out all our handouts as to what we're about. Our second event is on July the 19th and 20th, and that's the Pembroke Multicultural Festival. And we have Karthi Rajamni, I got to say that correctly, from the library, and she spoke at our Coffee Connect as well. And we are going to be featuring the Jamaican culture event, and that will take place at 12:20 on the 20th. So we're sponsoring that speaker, and that was a $500 expense to have that speaker come. So what we're actually doing with this project, the whole kind of in a nutshell, just briefly, is we're looking at our past. So we're going to be going back into our history, into farming, into the rivers, into the trails that led us, like the Opeongo Trail that set us up. Then we're going to be looking at issues that are relevant to today. And then we're moving on to how are we going to welcome the diverse community that we're getting, and how are we going to work together? What do we want them to know about us, and what do we want to find out? What do they want us to tell us about them, that they can settle into our community easier? So that's in a nutshell what this project is all about. I have handouts here. I'll leave them out at the window if anybody wants to take them. So, any questions?
Brian?
So last year on your kickoff, you sold 300 and some memberships at the kickoff, and that was a great way to start. Are you doing an event like that for getting renewals on them, or is it all these little ones and you're continuing from there? So I guess
So we are hosting an event on August the 21st. It's an appreciation barbecue for all of our volunteers, and that will also be a time that other people can come and sign up. We've hired a band for the day, so that will be our entertainment, a band outside. So yes, we will be having a drive again on the 21st for membership.
great.
But the $25 is it's not annual, it's...
Yes, it's annual.
Oh, it is annual? I'm
Yes.
sorry, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the things I didn't mention, which I'll just briefly talk about, is the crowdfunding that we received. We did receive $5,000 from CNL in a project that they have called crowdfunding, and most of that money we kind of designated that for a C-can. We bought a C-can that we have at Allison Fraser for our storage, because there wasn't enough storage there. So we have now purchased a C-can. We're in the process of getting the shelving put in. So that's helping getting our stuff out of their way, and also giving us a place for storage.
Okay, any other questions? Wendy?
Not really a question, just a comment. I knew that, I was saying to you earlier, I knew that this group probably would have a lot of interest, but I have to say it far exceeded what I ever thought it would. And I think it's amazing. And it's great to have this in our community. You guys have done so much. I follow you on social media, and I can't believe how you guys have the energy to do what you do, to be honest. It's wonderful.
We do get, I do regularly get calls or emails from people that are looking at moving into the community or have moved into the community recently. We have quite a few people that are come to Coffee Connect or whatever that are new to the area, and they're really happy to have the opportunity to meet their own age group, meet people. We hear that quite frequently.
I think it's a great idea that, people can come out that generally would be sitting at home on their computer or watching TV, and you see a lot of single people come out. I think it's a great idea, and hats off, Wanda, to you and your group of volunteers, a small group of volunteers here today, but everybody else that volunteers. It's great. It gets everybody out there having fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Down to subcommittees. Pembroke Airport.
Just to let everybody know that the grand opening for Airborne Petawawa is next Friday. at the airport if anybody would like to come up to the grand opening. They have been doing a few jumps in that already, so they're off to a good start. And there's lots of buzz about it, so. And no, I'm not going.
Jen,
So Jen's going, right?
yeah, she's jumping.
I did share it on Facebook a couple of times, but I am definitely not going.
So is this participation of invitees, or is it they're gonna put on a show for who's there?
I'm not sure exactly what the plan is, but it's going to be their grand opening, and I know all of the mayors were sent an invitation to the grand openings, but anybody can come to it next Friday at the airport, so.
Okay. 10 o'clock?
10 o'clock, I believe, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's, I got another email today, so I'm gonna respond, but I think everybody originally got one.
Yeah.
To all mayors, council, okay. Alrighty, emergency management, lawyer's not here.
None in the report, no.
Okay. Under corporate services, first report, Sean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this report is for council to, I'm recommending council to delegate some of your authority in the Municipal Act to the Assessment Review Board. So in section 357, and you may be familiar with that, just section 357 in general, that is when, in the Municipal Act where if a building's been destroyed by fire or demolition of a building or something has changed on a property where property owners can apply to have a tax reduction or cancellation. One of the parameters, it's D1, is somebody can apply to have their taxes canceled or reduced because of sickness and extreme poverty. So if somebody were to apply right now, come in, fill out the proper paperwork, you as council would have to hear that application, and it can become probably unfair potentially for you to be in that situation and for that individual to have to go through that process here. So what council can do is delegate that authority to the Assessment Review Board. People in this situation can apply directly to the Assessment Review Board, and then the Assessment Review Board will basically adjudicate that case or that case on behalf of you. So that's basically the bylaw that I have in front of you. I have gone through this Whitewater, and this is definitely, I think, a more fair and cleaner way. That is, of course, that's up to you. The risk is that if the adjudicator, whatever they decide, really is then binding. So if they decided that somebody couldn't pay their taxes because of meeting the test for sickness or extreme poverty, then you're bound to reduce those. So really it's taking that away from you to hear it, but it's also taking that decision away from you. So ultimately, if you weren't in favor of that decision, there really isn't much I don't think you could really do at that point in time. But I don't anticipate there being a lot of applications. This is more was on a work plan to get ahead of it. So in the event there were applications, that they wouldn't come to this council table, they would go to the Assessment Review Board. So that'll turn to.
Okay, Brian, then Keith, and then Al.
Is sickness and extreme poverty more clearly defined anywhere, or it seems to be a very general term?
It is, in this instance, general. However, there's significant tests that the applicant has to meet. They really have to do almost everything in their power to be able to pay their property taxes. So in the one instance that I went through it, the applicant had 2 properties and didn't sell the second property that was basically vacant land, and they did not meet the test because they had not done everything in their power. They basically have to submit a balance sheet, their own balance sheet, and showing all of their assets, all of their liabilities, and then all of their bills for a year, if not more, and then the adjudicator will make a decision at that point. So they have to be able to, the burden of proof is on them that they can't pay their property taxes because of either the sickness or the extreme poverty that they're in.
Okay, Keith?
From the time somebody might make an application to the hearing, is that expedited separate from assessment appeal type things? It would be a special hearing?
It is a special hearing, and The timeline, I don't know, but I do know they call these compassionate applications, and it does move quicker than a normal assessment appeal. And the ARB, or Assessment Review Board, has a portal where this application can be made, so it's not as maybe a snail mail as it maybe was in the past. It moves quicker than most.
Thank you.
Al?
And what's the review process? Is it yearly, or once they get it, they have it for life, or how does that part work?
My understanding, it's a great question. My understanding is it would be yearly. So again, it's on the applicant, and then if things change with that applicant, then the review may change.
Just had one, Sean, and this review from the assessment ARB would be shared between all three parties, meaning the county, ourselves, and school board. It's not just us taking our share, right?
That is correct. So any reduction in taxes, we would charge back to school board and county for their portion of those.
Okay, do we have a motion for that?
Yes, we do.
Alan and Jennifer? Sorry, yeah, go ahead. Alan and Jennifer.
Moved by Councillor Wren, second by Councillor Gauthier, that the Corporate Services and Protection Committee recommend Council of the Township of Laurentian Valley enact bylaw 2024-06036 to authorize the Assessment Review Board to exercise certain powers and function with respect to tax applications due to sickness and extreme poverty.
All in favor? Carried. Go ahead, Sean.
Okay, so this report on FIN 03 payment listing approval is a policy that we're looking to amend a little bit. Right now, to create payments, or whether it's check or issuing any payment, the township has to have dual signatures, which is fairly normal and is an internal control mechanism. And of that, for signing authority is one of myself or the CAO, so one of me or Dean, and then one of the mayor or chair of corporate services. So it can't be me and Dean sign a check. They wouldn't be accepted, and it can't be Councillor Wren or Mayor Bennett sign a check. So that's fine. I think that's easy to understand. But we are moving towards having electronic payments, so EFTs, electronic fund transfers. This eliminates the printing of checks, this eliminates postage, this eliminates the potential for checks to be lost in transit, which happens quite regularly, to be honest, more than you probably think. And it's the way technology is moving. Now, that presents in and of itself other control mechanisms that we will have in place. But in order to ensure that we still have the proper authority to do so, because now we're not creating checks, this policy just lays out how we would go through that process. So basically, bi-weekly, we do our payments bi-weekly. A listing would be generated. I, as a treasurer, would approve the listing, and then when the finance clerk has that approved, they'd send to Mayor Bennett via email. He looks at it, responds, approved, or whatever, or has questions, if he has questions and whatnot. And then that gives us the authority then to generate now the payments, and we could generate the check or EFTs. That's really the main crux of the changes to this policy. And then if in Mayor Bennett's absence, we would forward to the chair. So that'll turn it back to you.
Questions? Moving with the times, right?
Yes, sir.
In a motion? Keith and Wendy?
Moved by Reeve Watt, second by Councillor Hewitt, that the Corporate Services and Protection Committee recommends to Council to amend Policy Finance FIN 03 as presented.
All in favor? Carried. Next one is corporate credit card, Sean.
This is also another policy, just looking to amend. Again, kind of keeping in the theme of, I guess, the finance part of the meeting tonight, but with audit and internal controls, this is adding a few people or a few positions to be authorized to have a corporate credit card. So that would be the deputy clerk and the CBO. Right now, those two positions, they do purchasing with credit cards, and with not being able to issue them a credit card based on the policy that we have, what happens is then they use someone else's credit card, which is defeating the purpose of people having credit cards because now somebody's authorizing transactions under somebody else's name, and it's not very clean that way. So this is really just adding, again, some housekeeping notes, some change of titles, and then just adding 2 positions to this policy.
Questions, Brian?
Are there limits on these cards, or what kind of limits?
Unlimited.
Does that vary by the position?
Unlimited.
No, so the CAO would like to think, but there are, through our procurement policy, we have limits set on what each, like, department heads are issued and what they're able to spend, basically. Then there's how these operate is, there's a portal basically I have access to, and I believe the CAO and the finance clerk, in my absence, and the deputy treasurer, where they can change. So right now, I think for the most part, most positions are $5,000 limit. Some positions at some times of the year need more. I know that when we redo the licenses on the trucks, that's one time where that position who needs that limit increased because it's more than $5,000. And then it's easily monitored. So if something was lost, a credit card was lost or stolen, or somebody quit, it's a few clicks of a button for that to be canceled or put on hold.
Okay. Mine's unlimited. I don't have one. They haven't given me one.
You are on the list as a position, though. You are, so.
Okay, good motion? Brian and Al?
Moved by Councillor Ugly, second by Councillor Wren, that Corporate Service and Protection Committee recommends to council to amend policy FIN 04 as presented.
All in favor? Thanks, Sean. Summer meetings, Dean?
Okay, again, we're basically doing our normal protocol for the coming summer months, which is coming quickly. At this point, we're suggesting that the regular meetings be canceled and it just be at the call of the chair for July and August. So with that, I assume we'll have one through that period, but at this point, we just don't know when that is. It'll come at the best time. So we're just looking for a motion to agree with that July and August kind of rescheduling.
Okay, Jennifer and Keith?
Moved by Councillor Gauthier, second by Reeve Watt, that the council agrees that the July and August 2024 scheduled meetings be canceled and that summer meetings be at the call of the chair if needed.
Call of the chair be another night other than Tuesday.
Well,
All
that'll
of
be
the chair can make it
I
any
will
other
consider
week.
that, but I don't know if the other members.
And where?
Yeah.
Okay, we did pass that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Economic impact snowmobile, that's for information.
Oh, the fire.
Oh, sorry, chief. I can't, there we go. I was looking at May month, I didn't see the fire. Welcome, chief. How's things?
Oh, well, things are not too bad at the moment. Things are slowing down a little bit. We're not burning so much of the area down, but no, other than that, things are not too bad. I did put a burning ban back on, though, the bonfires only. No more open burning. We won't probably bring that back to September. It's just, we had a bushfire yesterday in a plantation there, 15 acres, and it's still too dry. I mean, it's just, I think our biggest problem is that we need to find out what 6 feet is, okay? We need to know what 6 feet is. 6 feet is not 20 feet long and 10 feet high, and that's what our biggest problem is. But anyway, on the other side of the coin, it's just, it costs too much, and it takes so much time when you get these big fires, these bushfires, and it's not necessary. So bonfires are fine, but there's no open burning probably till fall. So
Tim, the open burning, you don't actually go out, right? After, when somebody calls in and says, I want to do an open burn? Does the fire department?
I do sometimes, okay?
Depending on who?
Sometimes, depending on the size of the piles they're trying to burn, okay? I think, to be honest, I want to look at our burning thing, and I know we redid it a few years ago, but I think we have a gray area somewhere, because we have open burning, or we have bonfires, we have open burning, and then we have burning. If they're gonna build these, excuse me, if they're gonna have these long, like it's 10-foot long and 10-foot wide sort of thing, the permit says that they can't even burn that unless they contact the chief, and the chief goes and inspects it, or chief or deputy chief goes and inspects it, okay? Well, somewhere we've missed it, because most of them think they have the open burn. All they gotta do is call me and say, okay, I'm burning on today, okay? And we've kind of let it slide and let them get away with it, because just the fact that I think it's an understanding. We're not understanding it properly, and I want to have a look at it and rewrite that part, I think, a little bit, because I think that's where our biggest problem is that if we had open burning today, and they did open burning as what open burning says, which is a 6 by 6 by 6 pile, it could probably be controlled. But the problem is the 6 by 6 by 6 is 20 by 20 by 20, okay? That's where I think our biggest problem is, and M&R really doesn't like any of this open burning during the summer anyway. I mean, they want it to end in April and start again in November, sort of thing, so.
I would assume most municipalities will follow suit, or they already have.
Well, they haven't yet. Some of them have, well, I shouldn't say yet. Some of them have. Calabogie, I know in that area, they're really on top of it, because they're fine there with the tourism coming in. That's where they have their problems, so.
Well, Tim, when you announce that, does that go on the radio, or does it just go through social media?
It goes on Facebook. I know right away. It goes on our Laurentian Valley thing. Well, yesterday I phoned when we were at the fire and asked the girls to put it on. And by the time I got home, I knew that it was on because from the fire, so it didn't take long.
Okay.
So, okay.
Questions for Tim? Keith?
Just one, call number 61, Quebec Hydro, for the wires. How long does it take them to get over here to?
Well,
and where do they come from?
They come from Chapel, okay? I did not realize till that night, or that Quebec Hydro has part of the hydro down there. Actually, I talked to Dean about it a couple days after, okay? And what happened was, yeah, a tree came down on it, and they didn't even want to come that night. And the line was laying on the building, okay? And it was a vacant building, and the line was laying on it, and there was no way we were leaving it until, they finally did come over. It took, I think, 3 hours, I think the call was, or 2.5 hours? Like, they did show up quicker, but they weren't gonna come at all. They said, oh, it's fine till morning. Well, no, it's not fine till morning. So, but I had no idea that, there's Quebec Hydro, there's 3 hydros within that little wee span there, and I mean, learning process for me. But.
There's no opportunity for them to ask maybe Pembroke Hydro or whatever.
Well, what happened was we called Ontario Hydro, and Ontario Hydro came and said, well, that's not our line, that's Quebec's line. They wouldn't touch it.
Yeah, there's power brought in from Brookfield, and it comes down through there, and that's that's why they're in charge of it.
Yeah, you never stop learning.
Can I just, maybe an opportunity, Tim, I know, and we spoke about today, we have been getting a couple of calls with regards to the Sleepy Haven Motel and the fire and the debris that's there, obviously, and it looks shambles, and there's garbage on the outside of the fence and everything else. Just want to let it know publicly that Tim has been in contact with the investigator. I've been trying to get a hold of the owner. Right now, it's still under investigation. I think Tim is meeting again shortly with them, so we just can't touch it yet. So that's kind of the reasons that we're not really pushing really hard at this point. We're going to do it as soon as we can, but we'll have to just bear with it for now. Just putting that out there.
Okay.
I did contact the people that are caretaking that area this afternoon, and they said they were going to look and see if they could clean up if there's more stuff out. But I think what's happening is people are going in and taking stuff out that were there before. So but it is still like Dean's right. There's actually I'm going to get a call tonight from the investigator, and he's going to probably be in town tomorrow again. He wants to talk to me about some things. So it's still up in the air.
Okay, anything else for Tim? Any questions, comments? No? Okay. Thanks, chief.
Thank you.
Okay, the impact of snowmobile trails, for information? Dean?
Yeah, it's just basically information. You know, they wanted us to pass along and putting it in there. We are still meeting with regards to ATV will be coming, we'll have a bit of a bylaw and an agreement to be passed at council next meeting to allow the ATV club to use our portion that we purchased from Hawthorne Lane going towards the Whitewater boundary and so on, because Whitewater's done it too, so they want to use it, so that's coming forward next meeting. But other than that, we're still working on possible transactions, like for the city portion and the Algonquin Park portion too, so that's not really got anything further at this point, but just getting prepared to get moving on that. So that's, this is just information though to show the impact of the snowmobile club.
Al?
Any progress from the ATV club on leasing the land in through Pembroke?
I haven't heard, they never really mentioned that in our meeting. Chris and I met with them today. They didn't talk about that part with the OCN line, you mean? No, they did not mention that, so.
By understanding, the owners closed it for the summer. Okay, Brad? Best dressed guy here tonight.
Oh yeah, we have two more though. You have two more subcommittees.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Stay there, Brad.
No, you can sit there, yeah.
Yeah, you mean stay there. Small print here, I can't see anymore.
Betty's not here anyway, so
Festival
it's
Hall.
just regular
Oh,
library.
Chris is there though, Chris is there. Festival Hall.
Yeah, Festival Hall?
Chris, well, you can just state from there, Chris, oh, well, I'm sure they can hear you.
Hello, council. I attended the Festival Hall update meeting last week, and a lot of great feedback from the Elton Ron show. The sound equipment and the new features worked excellently. Getting a lot of really good feedback about that. There's a lot of really good shows coming up in the near future, especially during Christmas time. They are working on right now figuring out some methodology to basically charge for the new equipment, potentially for rentals, and how that might work for the new screen or anything like that, being a totally new venture. So the group is working on with the manager there to try to figure out some sort of scheme for that, and then they'll report that back to council, obviously. But like I say, the feedback was really great. The lineup, it's probably going to slow down for the summer, and then once you get into fall, they're going to be kicking off with one that I'm really looking forward to, which is ZZ Top and Stevie Ray Vaughan tribute, as well as a great lineup for Christmas. So Festival Hall is alive and well, and all the feedback from the event was very, very good.
Thanks, Chris. Wendy, Pembroke Library?
Nothing to report this month. I missed the last meeting due to illness, so there's nothing to report.
Okay. Okay, Brad, you're up.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. It's on, yep. So I'm just gonna go over the first quarter report with the water system. I meant to get this earlier to council, but I wanted to wait till we had both of our audits done so we could just go through everything at once. So we'll start with the quarterly report. You can see on page 2 that everything was within limits. It shows that we paid Caducean Laboratories to do our testing $1,332.84, HST included. We didn't receive any complaints during the first quarter, which was good. Staffing and training, we still have myself, who's the water quality analyst representative, 3 operators certified for water distribution 1 and 1 operator in training. Under the maintenance section, there was 24 locate requests completed in the first quarter, of which 14 were identified as for water lines to be marked. The water service operators conducted 2 customer service events in the first quarter. Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks, they actually completed their audit in January of 2024. There were 2 findings, and that's the thicker of the 2 reports on page 4. This was included in my yearly report that I brought to you earlier. So there was 2 nonconformities. One was, as I mentioned in my yearly report, that there was no HPC test completed in the 4th quarter of last year. It has since been fixed, and we're back in compliance with that. The second one was before my tenure, but there was a THM sample completed. There was first test completed, second test completed. It has to be 60 days in between. We were 56 days. So they dinged us on that. That's since been fixed too. We've looked at the scheduling and made sure that we're going to be in compliance moving forward. So I called her and asked her, I said, the inspector, and I said, what was the reasoning, like 60 days, why is that a reasoning? And she said, there's no real great reasoning, it's a regulation, you have to follow it. So we're outside of 4 days. All right, moving forward, construction, so for the first quarter, Roy Street actually got going pretty quick. At the time of this report, we put the backflow preventers on to run temporary water service lines to all the housing while they shut down the main water line and remove it and replace it. Since then, they're full bore going at it. So, and we're doing I just got told tomorrow we're commissioning the new water main from Jean to First Avenue. So we're going to get that operating sooner than later. Then we'll take that water service line off the hoses, and they'll be in the new water main, pending it passes all the tests. So then, under the drinking water quality management system, we then had our internal audit conducted by NSF. There was no corrective actions, which are nice to see, but we do have 5 opportunity for improvements. A lot of it is just clerical stuff that I'll be bringing forward to you folks in the future, but a lot of it was just clerical, instead of, I think in the resolution that I brought to you folks in January of this year, I put myself as a quality water analyst, and he said you should put representative after it. You know what I mean? So it's just small little items. So good news is we can still keep the water on and still operate. So, so in summary, in the first quarter of 2024, Waterworks purchased 10,257,610 gallons of water from the city of Pembroke, distributed to the homes and businesses. There was no adverse water quality events in the first quarter.
Brad, what was the number last year? Do you know that?
I don't have it with me,
Okay,
but
that's fine.
I think it was around this,
Similar?
Yeah. We seem to be staying at the steady mark of that. From when I did my yearly report, they were all pretty much the same, or hovering around there.
Questions for Brad? Are we on the even and odd numbers for water and
Yeah.
grass? Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Brad. Okay, next up, Waste Recovery Center. Board minutes are there. Spring cleanup is done. It's amazing how people cannot identify what a large item pickup is. There's still stuff at the end of driveways. I don't know, I know the Waste Recovery Center continues to advertise and what a large pickup is, but taxpayers don't get it.
They
Jennifer?
even have on Facebook, large collection pickup is now over. Facebook's huge, right? So people are seeing this, but they're gonna leave it. Even on TV Tower, there's 2 that are tons of stuff.
Mark, how long do we leave it until we actually lay a fine, or do we actually really lay a fine?
We put a notice out that it's until Friday, and then
Okay.
we're going to look at some kind of enforcement. I know typically in the past, has sort of just been left there, but we're trying to be a bit more aggressive with it to get it off. So we'll look at getting some notices sent out early next week.
Okay, thank you. Busker Fest. Chris, please.
Hello again, Council. So this is a request that was through the mayor sent to me, and it is for a busking festival, which is taking place in the city of Pembroke. The group is kind of a group of businesses, and this Callie Kuliak is kind of their media outreach person. And so she has reached out describing what exactly a busking festival is, which it is all laid out there. And then they're just looking for support from the municipality. And the money that will be generated from that is going towards the community pool fund. And so my motion was to be a community contributor, which is the lowest tier, but still support for this event in the amount of $500. And then I'll turn it over to council for questions or comments, and if you want to approve that or not.
I did contact Callie to find out if it was, this is their first one, I believe, right?
Yes.
From what I can see, that if it moves municipalities, I understand Petawawa is going to be involved, as well as the city of Pembroke, is what the email said. So I didn't hear back yet, but again, it's getting our name out there, and I don't know if we're going to provide a tent or what we get for that $500, but we do get some acknowledgement.
We do get some acknowledgement, yes, on their website and in their advertisements and a few other things with that sponsorship.
And certainly there will be Laurentian Valley taxpayers there. There's no doubt. So it's up to council. I think it's a good idea, but
Need a mover and a seconder.
Jennifer, you got a seconder? Wendy?
Moved by Councillor Gauthier, second by Councillor Hewitt, that be it resolved that the Corporation Township of Laurentian Valley in council and committee recommend to council to contribute $500 as a sponsorship to the downtown Pembroke Busker Fest event.
Any further discussion on it? Any questions? Alan?
Well, just to Brian's mention a little earlier, I think we need to start asking our local groups when we're putting stuff on in Laurentian Valley to start also reaching out to other municipalities. I know it's probably a good idea and it's good to get our name out there, but Laurentian Valley do quite a bit of stuff, and the city of Pembroke residents and the town of Petawawa residents do indulge in those and take part in them. And I think we really need to start reaching out and asking them for input into the events in the Laurentian Valley as well.
Absolutely. I don't think these are a group of business people trying to put a program together, but, so, anyways. Okay, any further discussion? All in favor? Carried. Your report, Chris.
Yes, so it's me again. Busy month, this month again in community development. Starting off with the asset management and community development master plan. So I continue to attend meetings. I believe now we've met with all the groups, either through the joint recreation or going directly to their meetings to discuss the importance of having a plan for what you want to do for the future, but also starting with the building blocks of what you actually have in terms of asset management, which is in line with what we are obviously trying to do with asset management, but on a grander scale for grants to understand what these community groups have, and then a greater plan to be having shovel-ready projects so that we can capitalize on when grants come out, that we have the best project ready to go. And so everyone seems to have resonate quite well with that. I think the groups see the value in making sure that we have a plan and that we have a strategic plan long-term to try to make sure that everybody can get the support that they need and that we're ready, and it also gets the groups obviously excited about future opportunities that could come. As you heard, the dream or the wish list, to try to get everybody on the same page. So that seems to have really resonated very well. Second item on here is the GovStack website management. So myself and our CAO met with Alex Schneider from GHD Digital, who is the group that manages our website. There's a software on there that we use called iCreate that they have notified us that within the next 2 years will be they will no longer be running through that program. And so I'm actually signed up next week for a webinar with more details. But we will have to decide within the next 2 years kind of what we want to do with that. Some people have decided to stay, some are not sure. So the next, before budget time, we will have all that information about potential costs and options. But I just want council to be aware that they did reach out to us, and that software that we are using that basically allows us to change the website and do all those details, the group has deemed that it will be obsolete. So stay tuned. There will be for sure more updates, but right now I just want council to be aware that that is on the horizon. Our newsletter continues to be really popular. The top 3 links were Fit and Feisty, the GP Splinter, and of course the collection schedule. We are actually still gaining traction on our newsletter. So we're up to 1,613 subscribers, which is awesome. So that just seems to be organically kind of growing now, which is great. And so hopefully the next newsletter will continue to have more, and we can keep growing that because it's a great way to reach out to people and get some really good information out to the community.
You're even increasing without the glasses.
Yes, the eclipse effects, I guess, last much longer than the celestial interactions. Also the LV News Summer and Fall is getting actually printed out. I did make an error. It is going to be next week or the week after that's going to be mailed out, because I believe we have to actually vote on that. But the slip is already ready, and it's being printed, so that'll be sent out. You'll see in the next tax bill with all the information, kind of a little bit less than our e-newsletter, but just some prudent information for people to get in their mail. It's been a great month for grand openings of businesses. We have one on here, but there actually has been 2. So on Saturday, May 18th, myself and Councillor Betty King attended the official grand opening of Divine Felicia Crystals, located on 1200 Pembroke Street East. I'd actually reached out to the group before, and they were really not sure what to go with advertising and social media and stuff. So I put my graphic design hat on and helped them with some videos just to introduce the business owners, and just some very light things to kind of get some interest, and it seemed to have worked pretty well, and they were very happy with that. So if you haven't been, I encourage you to go check it out. It's right by the Home Depot. And then myself and Reeve Watt also on the 31st, before, after this report was done, attended Forged in Canada, which is the new blacksmith shop that's opened up in Laurentian Valley. So we got to see the forge lighting up, and they did some demonstrations. I'm very happy for Lanny and his family and the whole team there for getting that all going. There's some exciting things that they'll be doing, some stuff at fairs. They've got blacksmith classes, so if you ever wanted to be on Forged in Fire, you can gain the skills necessary to do that through courses. So very exciting and very unique business in Laurentian Valley opening up, so we were glad to be there for that. Just so that it's on council's radar as well, Councillor Wren did mention this, but the Petawatta Airborne on June 14th. It's very exciting that that's going to be going as well. And then Bromley Acres Wagyu beef. Hopefully they'll have some samples, but it was going to be June 22nd. Now they did revise that, and it will be now from 11 until 3. So just make a note of that it is different from 1 p.m. But I'll send out a reminder to all of council to check that out. And then finally, discover Renfrew County Shop the Valley magazine. A new advertisement has been created, so you'll see that in the next Discover the Valley, and actually the blacksmith shop is also going to be featured in that. I just talked to Terry Fleury today, so that'll be another great pull for Laurentian Valley to be in that. And then there's a list here of officers' duties, the one being notable that I was on holidays. I did make it back safely from Algonquin Park, but I was gone from May 20th to 28th. And that is my report.
Thank you very much, Chris.
You're welcome.
Great job.
Thank you.
Any questions? No? Okay, thank you. Okay, where are we at? Nevada? Just before you start Nevada, after reading your report and hearing from the different rec groups, how your involvement has been with them, we sat here, a year ago and 2 years ago thinking, what would a rec director do? How would that person fill their time? And I think you're doing a fabulous job.
A lot of my evenings are filled. I have to say. There's a lot of committee meetings, but I love all the committee members. They're so unique. All different committees have different personalities, but they're all so keen to give back to the community, and they're dedicated to the park that they're taking care of or the programs that they're running. So it's just really been a pleasure to work with them, for sure. So thank you for that opportunity. So I just want to mention a few things. So upcoming is our active transportation and trails plan project is still ongoing. So we're at one of our final pieces is the public open house. So this is an opportunity for the public to come out and review their preliminary recommendations. We did have a meeting with our stakeholders, a second meeting. I think that was back in last month in May, and Jen Gauthier was there, and I would encourage council to come and have a look and see, because this is a time where they can take feedback and maybe make some changes to what the recommendations that they're proposing. So that will be on June 19th at Allison Fraser Rec Center from 4 to 7:30. It's not for the whole time. You just come in. They're going to have, I think, boards, and you kind of browse around, and if you have questions, you can ask them then.
Can you send a reminder of the council?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So we're putting it in the paper. It'll be on our website, and I will send you an official invitation to attend. The municipal park sign project is undergone now, so we have hired Nature by Design, and I'm working with the owner, Matthew Cherry. So I've sent him all the information that we want on the 6 park signs, so he's coming up with a draft of each of the signs, and I'll be reaching out to the committee members for their approval, as well as staff here, before we go ahead and print anything. So that's underway. Another thing I wanted to mention is we have offered emergency first aid training and AED training certification to our rec volunteers. So far we've had 15 volunteers who have completed the training. I have one last date, June 15th. It'll be at Shady Nook. And so the Shady Nook volunteers will be participating, some from Allison Fraser, and I have opened it up to other groups. So hopefully we can get a full group of people, which would be 12, to attend on that date. Something exciting that happened very quickly was we hired a recreation summer student. So we were granted the Ontario Summer Employment Program, and basically in the span of like 2 weeks, we promoted the job and I hired somebody. So we got about 9 applications, and we chose to interview 4 of those potential candidates. So we offered the job to Christopher Morrissey, and he accepted the position. So he started on May 27th, and he'll be working inside the office as well as with Chris as well, and with the community volunteer groups that would need help with maintenance. So he's actually going to be going out and working with Merle 2 mornings this week. And he's going to work with Don Peltze at Stafford Park, and he's going to work with Rob LaRiviere at Shady Nook. So it'd be just half days, and then the rest of the time he'd be in here helping us with events. So just another thing I want the public to realize is that the Water and Dirt Festival registrations are well underway. We are hosting 2 events in Laurentian Valley. The Forestly Trail Run, it's led by a volunteer, Greg Watts. So right now that event is pretty well registered. They have 3 races, 27K race, a 10K race, and a kids race. The kids race is fully booked, so there's still opportunities if you're interested in the other 2. That one will be on at the Forestly Trails on Sunday, August 11th. And then we're hosting a new race. This is kind of a crazy one for me. It's a Forestly Odyssey gravel race. It's a biking race led by volunteer Carrie Dato. And it's basically a cycling event with 2 courses, a 70K course and a 100K course. So it's a pretty serious biking event. Basically, you're biking through a variety of pavement, gravel, unmaintained roads that will keep participants entertained as they endure the challenging and beautiful terrain of Laurentian Valley and North Algona, Wilberforce Townships. So that event will be hosted on Saturday, August 17th. And it'll start at the Forestly Trails and end at the Forestly Trails. So people can, if they're interested in registering, they can just go to the www.wateranddirt.ca website. And then finally, the Junior Gardeners Competition is, you can register to get your plant. So kids have until June 10th to pick up a plant at Sunset Nursery. So I've told that there's quite a few that have been picked up. So if anybody's interested, please go out and pick up your plant. And the judging will take place once again during the Party in the Park event on June 27th at Stafford Park. July 27th at Stafford Park. And I think that's all I need to tell you.
Any questions, comments for Nevada? No. Good job.
One action item, actually, that I meant to tell you is that I did order a plaque for JP Splinter, and we hung it in Stafford Park
Good.
building.
Thank you.
Okay? Thank you.
Alrighty. Friends of the Disabled. That's Betty, right? No. Wendy, I'm sorry.
That's okay. So just a couple of stats from this time, in May 2024 compared to 2023. We are up on an average of about 329 rides, which is huge. I did share a few months ago that our new van was coming, and it had been postponed, but it is due to arrive tomorrow. So there will be, at some point in the fall, a formal photo session with our township and with the city as well, when that comes. So, and we've started Sunday rides too. And that's not quite as popular yet, but it's just fairly new. It's only been a few weeks. And then we did have a booth at the City Expo as well. And I was there for part of the day. And there's a lot of people in Laurentian Valley that didn't realize it's for Laurentian Valley residents. They just thought it was a city bus. So it was interesting to talk to people.
Good, thank you. Any questions for Wendy? Shady Nook, Brian?
The minutes are there for you. The new bleachers and that are all, and soccer's all ready to roll, so things are rolling along at Shady Nook.
Good. Al?
Just one question on that, and I was on all over social media, I guess, the last soccer day, and the parking on both sides of the street out there. I was under the impression that it was no parking on one side of the street, and do we not have enough parking in the parking lot for soccer?
Depends on the night and how people are parking and the time of night, but yeah, there should be pretty much enough, but there's, close to 400 kids, and then you get grandparents and aunts and uncles and everybody else, depending on how many people come out and watch. It can be a busy time.
But I guess it's becoming a bit of a safety concern with them parked on both sides of the road. If there was an emergency vehicle wouldn't be able to get through is the only, I guess, real big concern.
I thought we had no parking signs on one side of the street. Okay. Mark?
The challenge we're having is, it's unfortunate, the local residents requested the no parking, and every time we install the signs, they remove them because they want to park in front of their home. So we've replaced them on numerous occasions, and they keep taking them out. So we will look again, but it's unfortunate. They don't want the vehicles there, but then they don't want the restrictions, so it has been a challenge, so. But yeah, we'll look at it again. I'm guessing the signs have probably been removed again.
Jennifer?
Are the signs on the, like across the street from their house before you hit?
No, the signs were on the same side as the homes, so that, the idea was that they would be able to see and be able to get out of their driveways. So the no parking restriction is on the same side of the homes, so that the people using the rec center were parking across the road, and they still had free access in and out of their driveways, and the driveways wouldn't be blocked, so.
Okay, Alison Fraser, Betty's not here, Forrest Lee. Anything to report, Keith? Okay. Pleasant View, Betty's not here. Stafford, Jennifer?
Minutes are there. Last weekend, they got the new carpet delivered. It looks good. And that was donated by Pembroke Tile.
Oh, good. Forces and Trails, quiet this time of year, right, Mark?
Yeah, things are fairly quiet, but we do have an announcement to make, I guess, in partnership with Chris in a couple of weeks about some funding we're getting. So we're kind of been leaking it out a little bit, but it'll be formal next week, and we can make a bit more of an announcement on that.
Right on. And then LV Fit and Feisty, well, we did hear from them tonight, Keith, so anything to add? Okay. And then we have the Reeves report, May 2024. Any questions for Keith? Keith, you have comments?
I have a couple of comments to make. The minutes are there. 3 projects are underway by the county. The first one being Mud Lake Road. They're going to be doing a rehab there from Whitewater Road up to the city of Pembroke limits. That's going to start the week of July the 8th and be finished in late July. In some locations, the traffic will be reduced to 1 lane. Then there's the Peter Black Bridge on Whitewater Road. That's going to commence on June 17th and complete in early October, and it will close the whole of that section for getting through. So there'll be signage that you'll have to either get over to Highway 17 and use Sawmill Road or Highway 41 to get around. The third one is Mountain Road, which is going to go from Stafford Third Line over to Highway 17, and that's going to commence June 3rd and be finished by late June.
Okay, Al?
So I guess it's more of a question for Mark. Are we okay with them putting the truck traffic down our new Sawmill Road?
Yeah, so we've had the discussion, and the truck traffic, the route will be 17 to 41. We've already had that discussion. Their first request was to utilize Third Line and Sawmill Road back out to 17, and it's just, it can't accommodate the truck traffic. So, and then speaking with staff from the county, I did also note about having a conversation with Roseburg just for a little bit of advance notice. So I'm going to provide some information over. I'm assuming they may be aware, but there's a pretty big impact to the truck traffic going there. So, but so there'd be a designated truck traffic route from 41 and Whitewater Road up to 17, and then back down 17 to get around. So.
Okay.
One last note is that, again, if you go online, just 511, Renfrew County website, 511, that'll get you to the monthly traffic report.
Good.
Our
Thank you.
infrastructure chain.
Brian?
So, just to reiterate, 24 is going to be closed, and one of the main detour alternatives going to be 1 lane?
Part of that for a short section. The overlap was, Mud Lake Road was going to be from July 8th till late July, and there'll be some 1 lane restrictions, yes.
Okay.
Okay, council comments. Any comments tonight? Seeing none?
I have one, I just wanted to mention that we did get invited, so the mayor and myself are invited to the pool. They're doing an opening of the construction on Thursday morning, so we are invited as a partner. So if anybody, a member wants to attend, it's at 9:30 at the pool, I guess, so certainly welcome to join us too as well, so. But we will be going.
Yeah, and I did forward that email out to
Oh, yeah.
construction, so, and you did. Okay, motion to adjourn? Jennifer and Al.
Moved by Counselor Goche, second by Counselor Wren, that the council and committee meeting of June 4th, 2024 be adjourned at 7:40.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Good night, everyone.